And welcome to another edition of the HYTORC Solution Series. I'm Tony Marino, and today we're joined by HYTORC Chief Engineer Mike Dolan. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today as we talk about HYTORC's washer solutions.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Very exciting as we move in and talk about that. Let's just first talk about this HYTORC washer. And why don't you tell us why the HYTORC washer?
Well, it's a really good question, Tony. HYTORC washers are a very unique product. And their main benefit is what they do and what they change about the existing approach to doing bolting work. And I couldn't really bring you up to speed on the HYTORC washer without telling you about the status quo, how bolting on industrial fasteners is done today. And so when you're working with a large fastener, something that's too big to be tightened by hand, anything over maybe 1,000 foot-pounds, you're likely to use a powered torque tool. Powered torque tool may run on pneumatics, it may run on batteries, it may run with a hydraulic pump. But those tools can deliver tremendous amounts of torque, thousands of foot-pounds, even 100,000 foot-pounds, onto any fastener. And the way they do that is by reacting on something else. Typically, it's the adjacent fastener. And you can see here, this is a reaction arm.
Mike, I'm going to stop you right there. Reaction arm. We hear that all the time. What is the reaction arm?
Well, if you want to create a lot of torque, you need to apply a lot of force to something. And torque is a function of force times distance. And so typically mechanics, when they want to create more torque, they get a longer wrench. At some point, that's an ineffective strategy. The wrench could be 50 feet long to do some of the torques that we apply with powered tools. So powered tools have a reaction arm. Reaction arm will push off the adjacent fastener. And that works quite well, and it's been an industry standard for over 50 years. But it has some drawbacks. It creates a lot of side load and also creates a huge safety risk because you could easily pinch your fingers. So essentially what you're doing when you're working with a large hydraulic torque tool or powered torque tool is you're creating all that torque with a very short wrench. As opposed to using maybe a 50-foot or 100-foot long wrench, you're using a wrench that may only be 1 foot. And therefore it puts a lot of side load on the adjacent fastener to deliver the torque you need. And so it's just been a necessary hazard in industrial bolting. And we've been dealing with it for 50 years. It's not that you can't operate that way, but we found a way to make it a lot safer with a new innovation. It's a simple change to the fasteners.
So we see the challenge there. That's the solution. Let's talk a little bit more as you take a look at this video about how the HYTORC washer addresses hand safety.
Risks are very real for operators using conventional bolting methods with power torque tools, reaction arms, and backup wrenches. When a power tool is activated on the front side of the flange, a conventional reaction arm creates a pinch hazard. Accidents can occur, leading to major hand injury. The backup wrench can also move, creating a pinch point. An injury occurring on the back side of the flange can be just as devastating as one occurring on the front. The HYTORC washer system is the only solution that reduces the risk of hand injuries by eliminating pinch points. The washer system is comprised of a reaction washer and a backup washer, which perform all the functions of standard hardened washers and more. The reaction washer features a smooth side to reduce the friction of the turning nut. The opposite side is knurled to keep the reaction washer from rotating. The contoured outer surface braces reaction forces during tightening, eliminating the need for a reaction arm. The reaction washer is installed with the knurled side facing the flange to prevent rotation. The smooth side faces the nut. The outer reaction surface remains accessible for tool engagement. The backup washer has knurls on both sides and is installed between the back nut and the rear flange. The knurled surface prevents the back nut from turning, eliminating the need for a backup wrench. When bolting with the HYTORC washer system, the dual socket driver is positioned over the nut and the reaction washer. The outer driver engages the outer lobes of the reaction washer. The inner driver is a standard socket that engages the nut. The socket turns the nut within the stationary outer driver. The advantage is obvious. There are no exposed moving parts. All reaction pinch points are safely contained inside the outer driver. On the opposite side of the flange, The backup washer replaces the backup wrench, eliminating rear pinch points. The HYTORC washer is the only industrial bolting solution that can reduce the risk of hand injury by completely eliminating pinch points. Contact HYTORC today for a free demonstration.
Mike, tell us a little bit more about the HYTORC washer, how it works. Is it a process? Is it a system?
Really good question, Tony. It's actually a little bit of both. We like to call it a system. We sell two different parts of this process, or this system. You've got the top side washer and the back side washer. Backside washer is real simple. It eliminates the need for a backup wrench. So normally when you're tightening up a bolt, that's in a flange. If you got a nut on both sides, somebody has to prevent the back nut from turning. Our backup washer solves that problem completely. And then the top side is a reaction washer, and that's got the flower pattern on the outside. It looks kind of like a sprocket. It allows us to react on that and use it as a reaction washer. So when you use the two together, it is a system. But with that said, both are available independently and both can work independently. Some customers will just use one and others will use just the backup washer. So it's certainly malleable. As far as how the system works, when all combined together and you're using it as one, the main benefit is that we're getting rid of the side load that's typically required when you're working with a reaction arm. It's very hard to see side load. Side load is not something that you're going to see when you're operating a powered torque tool, but the tool has to push off of something to create these enormous levels of torque. And normally that's going to be the adjacent fastener. And you can see that right here. We've got a tool pushing off the adjacent nut, and it's going to put a tremendous amount of side load on that fastener to turn the nut that you're operating. That side load can be dangerous. You can pinch your fingers. It also introduces side load. Side load is undesirable when you're doing torque operations. The HYTORC washer system, when you implement the whole thing, which you can see over here on the right-hand side, the top washer becomes the reaction point. It eliminates the need for a reaction arm completely, thereby eliminating the need for side load. Side load is an undesirable effect of torquing with conventional power tools. When you put the HYTORC washer on there, there is no side load at all. You're literally just applying exactly what you want to apply to a fastener, and that's pure torque. You're going to torque the fastener. As a fringe benefit of the system, though, you can see on the back side we've got our backup washer. It's orange on this illustration, and what that's showing you is that there is no need to put a backup wrench on there. So typically you'd see on the left-hand side here you'd have a backup wrench to prevent that nut from turning. When you use this system in its entirety, you no longer have that challenge. So you get axial alignment, you get no side load, you remove the chance of galling on the surfaces because you have a washer, you increase the accuracy, repeatability, and you're much gentler on the tools, so they last longer. One of the other benefits of this system is just what it can do for your schedule. Because when you start using this reaction washer system, you need less people. You no longer need a man on the backup side with a backup wrench. You can see in the illustration here, there's an operator operating it from the top side with a reaction arm, and on the back side, just to the right of the flange, you got a man with a backup wrench and a hammer. That's typical. That's how you prevent the backup nut from turning. You put the backup wrench on there, and when you're done tightening it from the top side, you use a hammer to knock it off. It's inconvenient. It introduces side load, and it makes the job a lot less productive. So when you can go ahead and remove the backup wrench and the backup operator, the job is twice as fast. And that's one of the main advantages of using this system is you really can reduce the time. Oftentimes you can cut the total bolting time in half.
Well, you mentioned time. Let's put it to the test. Let's put it to the speed trial, and now let's watch this short video. Mike, why don't you tell us about the options and the variety of materials that are used here with the HYTORC washer?
Yeah, good question, Tony. Washers themselves do come in all kinds of different options, and it's really typical for a customer to tell us what type of options they'd like. So we like to look at it as our product, and we design it and build it the way we'd like. But we do also offer it with whatever kind of coatings or materials that you require. So it's really an easy product to customize. The coatings, we've done almost any coating you can think of on these washers. There's a couple examples here. Black oxide is our standard. We also do mechanical galvanizing. We stock those. But if you want a special coating, zinc coating, some type of PTFE, no problem. Also, if you want a special material, the standard ones are 4140, but we can do them out of stainless steel. We've done 316, we've done 422, 174. So with a washer product like this, while the geometries become pretty typical and standard, there's a lot of options that can be customized, and we're always happy to do that.
You know, one of the things with the HYTORC washer, it's using it across industries. You mentioned the materials that are used, but there's a standard out there that really applies to a lot of industries. That's the ASTM standard. Yeah,
well, and it's particularly important to fasteners because fasteners aren't typically designed, they're specified. And so one of the constraints we'll run into is our customers want to use these fasteners, but they want to specify them to a known standard. And what is that standard? Well, our materials do meet the very common ASTM F436 standard, but our geometry is a little different, usually not too problematic. Some people can accept it just as it is. But to address that need, we had a standard developed with ASTM. It's called F3394. The F3394 describes all the aspects, geometry, materials, condition, even down to the actual coatings and the entire packaging of this product, labeling and all. So you can specify this type of fastener just by calling out the F3394 standard, which makes it really convenient for engineers. I mean, you don't want to normally design a fastener, you specify it. So we're giving you the tools to do that with this standard, and it is an ASTM standard. It's actually available right through their website, and it's an internationally recognized body for standards. So we're really happy.
And let's learn a little bit more about that standard with this short video.
HYTORC washers have gained international acceptance through the ASTM standards process. ASTM F3394, standard for hardened backup and reaction washers, is now being specified for critical bolting projects. The HYTORC washer is manufactured in accordance with the requirements in the ASTM F3394 standard, specification for hardened backup and reaction washers. The standard covers material, mechanical, dimensional, and other properties for a range of washer sizes. The F3394 reaction washer is installed beneath the turning nut with knurls facing the flange to prevent washer movement. Once the nut is threaded onto the bolt, the washer outer surface remains accessible for constraining reaction forces. The F3394 backup washer is installed between the back nut and the rear flange to prevent the back nut from turning. When bolting with square drive tools, the dual socket driver is positioned over the nut and reaction washer. The edge of the driver engages the reaction washer to brace reaction forces. The inner driver is a standard socket that tightens the nut. As the nut turns within the outer driver, the advantage is obvious. There are no exposed moving parts. All forces are safely contained inside the driver, completely eliminating reaction arms and hazardous pinch points. On the opposite side, the backup washer keeps the back nut from turning, eliminating backup wrenches and rear pinch points. Fasteners using washers in tight spaces can be tightened with low clearance tools equipped with reaction plates. HYTORC ASTM F3394 washers are now making bolting safer, faster, and simpler. The F3394 standard can be downloaded at astm.org. Contact HYTORC for a free washer demonstration or trial. The HYTORC standard. Never settle for less.
And Mike, I'm sure the question on everybody's mind out there is the compatibility issue. What is the compatibility with HYTORC's tools and the HYTORC washer?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, the compatibility is there. In fact, it works with all of our tools. You can use it with our hydraulic tools, our electric tools, and even our pneumatic tools. So there's really no restrictions on where you can use this. In fact, anything that has a reaction arm on it, you can simply replace that reaction arm with a cup fixture and use it with any of our tools.
All right, let's go to the challenges that are out there in the field, the feedback that you guys are getting. You have a challenge out there. In a second, we're going to give the solution.
Well, yeah, a lot of people that are buying fasteners are often worried about making sure they stay together, they stay tight. And it turns out that there are some tricks of the trade that can make fasteners and washers better at doing that job. What I'm talking about is vibration loosening. Sometimes when things have high cycles or extensive vibrations, there's an opportunity for the fasteners to loosen. And fasteners themselves don't come with locking mechanisms. We rely on friction to hold joints together. Friction works quite well, but not in all situations. And some of the more challenging situations, you can think of rail car situations, maybe something like a roller coaster where it's really critical that things don't come loose. People want an extra insurance that it won't come loose. And that insurance can be provided through specialized fasteners. There's a way to test this propensity to come loose. It's called the Yonker test. It's a transverse shear load test. They basically put a bolt into a flange, pull two plies together like you can see there, and then they vibrate this under high load and high speeds. And essentially, they can force a joint to come loose with a very short period of time just by applying a very high level of vibration. When you run that test, you might find that most conventional fasteners, even the ones we're familiar with, like conventional split lock washers, really won't do well. I mean, most people buy lock washers and elastic stop nuts and think they're going to do a good job. They'll fail that Yonker test. The HYTORC washer has been upgraded very recently to the HYTORC J washer. The J washer is a cutting edge approach that we have, and what we've done is a simple change. We've added the knurling that you see on the bottom side of our washer, we're now also adding to the top side of our washer. It's a simple change, very easy for us to do, but what it does is it allows this fastener to pass the Yonker test, which means you can put this onto an application where you have a lot of vibrations, and it will absolutely have a much less likelihood of coming loose. It passes the Yonker test, and so that's a really, really enormous benefit. And it's a simple change that is now a standard product from HYTORC. It's the HYTORC J washer.
Well, some great information, but let's learn a little bit more about that HYTORC J washer with this video.
In heavy industrial applications, increased vibration can loosen bolts over time. Loose bolts in structures, machines, and other systems can cause dangerous conditions. HYTORC now offers the J washer, providing a locking feature that keeps bolts tight. This unique design retains all benefits of the HYTORC washer system, including improved safety and speed during installation. The J washer is designed to stay tight under the industry standard Yonkers test. This test simulates the vibration loosening that occurs in many applications. When tested without a washer, the nut comes loose. When tested with a flat washer, the nut still comes loose. However, when the HYTORC J washer is included in the fastener during the test, the nut does not come loose. This new washer design is installed with outward position knurls against the bearing surface and the inner knurl ridge facing the nut. The tool driver is positioned over the nut and engages the washer lobes. During tightening, the nut is locked in place by the knurled ridge. The J washer, combined with HYTORC tools, provides the most advanced bolting solution available, making your bolting safer, faster, and simpler. The HYTORC Standard. Never settle for less.
And joining us now from Texas, from the Productivity Enhancement Group for HYTORC, an account manager, and that's Steve Spears. Steve, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Steve, why don't you tell us about your customers' experience with the HYTORC washer?
Well, we've had some great experience. A lot of our customers are finding that the HYTORC washer can eliminate a lot of the challenges that they have in the wind industry. We've literally put millions of washers into the market over the last few years, and the newer turbines, the newer model of turbines that are coming out has the HYTORC washer literally all over it.
Steve, do you have a specific example of your customers and how the HYTORC washer helped them face a challenge?
Sure. So in wind, obviously you have a lot of rotating parts, and as the hub rotates around, the load changes every second. and there was some issues and challenges with keeping the proper load on the studs. And by implementing the HYTORC washer, they found that we can eliminate the load loss by keeping the stud and the nut tight, like at the level that it needs to be.
Any additional insights, feedback that you're getting as far as the HYTORC washer?
Yeah, one of the main feedback that I've been getting is the getting rid of the reaction arm and not having to put that load on the adjacent nut. So whenever you're using conventional torque with a reaction arm, you have to press up against another object, and most of the time that is the adjacent bolt or stud. When you do that, it puts a lot of side load on that stud, and that was causing some pretty big challenges in itself. And by putting the HYTORC washer on, eliminating the reaction arm, it is completely taking care of that challenge.
Really great insight. Steve, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it back here.
Thank you. Have a good day.
And joining us now from HYTORC Singapore is Gary Pang. Gary is a Productivity Enhancement Group Manager for HYTORC. And Gary, thanks so much for spending time with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Gary, why don't you start off by telling us about your customers' experience with the HYTORC washer system?
Our customers love the HYTORC washer system because it tremendously improves the quality, safety, and schedule aspect of their jobs. They're able to see the benefits right away. For the customers who use the backup washers, it eliminates the need of the backup wrench and hence improving the safety as well as schedule. The reaction washer has proven to improve the safety and quality aspect of the bolted application as well. Recently, we have a customer who implemented the reaction washers to eliminate flange face galling due to the turning nut.
Can you give us an example of how the J washer solved the challenge in a customer application?
Sure. One particular customer is in the petrochemical industry and they had a leaking reactor. We conducted a free site survey for them to better understand their needs and challenges. Their current practice is to tighten the nuts further in order whenever they have a leakage. But this could potentially lead to a permanent damage on the flange or the stud or the gasket. We recommended the J washers, which is a new product of ours, as a solution for the leakage problem. We trialed the washers on a few applications and they instantly recognized the ease of installation and the effectiveness of the J washers. Subsequently, we installed 124 washers, J washers and backup washers on the reactors, and we are pleased to say we have successfully solved their leakage problem.
Well, that's a really great example. Gary, why don't you give us some insights into the benefits from the HYTORC washer for your customers?
Sure. Besides the petrochemical industry, the HYTORC washer is making progress in many others as well. As long as it is a bolt and nut application, our goal is to help our customers to optimize their bolting processes with our fasteners technology. The petrochemical contractors and plant asset owners are getting increasingly more familiar with our HYTORC range of products as well as the HYTORC washer system. We have gotten a very good track record in solving this kind of leakages problems, and I'm pretty sure to say that we expect to see more of the HYTORC washers to be used more broadly in Asia.
Gary, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And now we head down to the Lone Star State, and joining us from down there is Derek Forrest. Derek is the area manager for HYTORC Texas. Derek, thanks so much for taking some time today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Derek, here on the HYTORC Solution Series, talking about the HYTORC washer, the J washer. Why don't you tell us about your customers' overall experience with the HYTORC washer system?
Man, the customers absolutely love the HYTORC washer once they've implemented it into their applications. From the different various industries that we've worked with, they just find it to be a tremendous time saver, a tremendous safety aspect to the washer, as also the accuracy that the washer gives them to their bolt loads.
Derek, how about a specific example of where the J washer solved a challenge for a customer application?
Sure. We have a power generation mobile skid unit that experienced a lot of heavy vibration, which would cause nut loosening throughout their testing. So we presented the HYTORC J washer to them as a solution to prevent the loosening of the nuts. Not only that, but it also gave them a safer way to do it by having no pinch points when utilizing our tools. Again, using the tools with a reaction arm, sometimes they would get stuck and bound up on the nut, and it was a major issue for them. And so by using the HYTORC washer, we allowed them to use the tool without any pinch points and also without locking up.
Really great example. How about some additional benefits to the HYTORC washer system for your customers?
Yeah, the time savings is huge. The safety is fantastic for the customers. Also, compared to their previous attempt at trying to, a lock nut or other locking washer, they found that our system was far more economical, as well as a safe way to use our tooling by implementing our HYTORC washer.
Derek, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, man.
Well, we've heard a lot about the HYTORC washer and the J washer. Now let's see it in action. And for that, we send it over to Mike Dolan for some demonstrations.
So this here is a typical flange used in the oil and gas industry. Flanges have all kinds of shapes and sizes. Like I said at other times, you can use these tools and these fasteners anywhere where reaction arm was used, and reaction arms are very common on flanges. So essentially what we have here is very typical stuff. ASTM A193 bolts, 194 nuts, and the HYTORC washer system. And you can see the reaction washer here. On the backup side, we actually have the HYTORC backup washer. That backup washer allows us to eliminate the need for a second person and a second wrench. That's a huge benefit. Typically, when you're tightening up a flange like this, you have to apply all the torque to these fasteners to get it tight, but you also need to make sure none of the fasteners in the back spin. And that can be a real productivity inhibitor. You need something and somebody to take care of all that. By simply putting the HYTORC washer system on here, you can do all the work from the front side. Don't even need to worry about the back side. So it's safety, convenient, and productive. When you want to apply the torque, you don't need to exert any energy at all. All you got to do is take this battery gun, put it on the fastener, pull the trigger, and it does all of the work for you. It literally only takes the pull of a trigger, and you're going to get 700 foot-pounds or 750 foot-pounds of torque on that fastener. I'll show you how that works real quickly. I'm just pulling the trigger and letting the tool do the work. It's complete. That fastener is now tightened up to 750 foot-pounds.
And very excited to share some breaking news. In fact, just fresh off the presses, if you will, HYTORC's J washer is the winner of the Spotlight on New Technology Award. Mike, this is a big deal. This is the second time that HYTORC has won this award. This is a big deal for the J washer.
Yeah, it really is a big deal. And the second time we won it, but the first time for a fastener and for a washer. So it's a simple little device, right? You think, what's a washer? I mean, they're everywhere. Well, how do you have an award for a washer? But this is a really large event. It's one of the biggest trade shows we go to in the oil and gas industry. It's an Offshore Technology Conference, OTC. It's in Houston every year, and they have recognized our product as one of the newest innovations and a tremendous show with technology that some of the most advanced technology in the industrial world exists at this show. I mean, these are people that are doing drilling work, several thousand feet below the sea. And we've managed to get a Spotlight on New Technology Award for this simple little washer. So sometimes very simple things, are overlooked, and yet that doesn't mean there isn't tremendous innovations that are possible there. And we've managed a really, really clever, a really, really unique, and a highly beneficial, simple change to a washer that garnered the respect of this award. And so we can't be more excited. This is going to be a really fun show for us this year, talking about our product, which we always do, but talking about our award-winning product. So yes, this is a tremendous endorsement and gives us a lot of credibility. So we're really proud to have it.
and their criteria: high innovation, groundbreaking, exceeding existing technology. We took you through all that today. That is the J-washer. Mike, thanks so much for your time today. Certainly took us deep into the high torque washer, the award-winning now J-washer. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Really glad to be here.
And for everyone else, make sure that you tune in for our next solution series. Keep an eye out on our schedule. You can check us out, of course, on all the social media channels. Go to our website anytime. Plenty of information for you there. Reach out to your rep. You've got questions, send us an email. Contact us any way you want. You've got challenges, we've got solutions. This has been the HYTORC Solution Series. For Mike Dolan, I'm Tony Marino. Have a good day, everyone.